Well, hey, it's Tay from Stay Proud. Thanks so much for tuning in to my live stream today. I'm so excited to see you all you guys again. I know that it's such, like, I was not so sure that whether I want to do a live stream tonight because, you know, whenever I have a live stream, I'm so stressed out. I feel like, no, it's the last minute, it's the due deadline. I don't want to do anything else. I just want to sit and do my work. I don't want to go live stream and like interact with people. I'm so shy. But anyway, I promised to some people that today I'm going to do a live stream from last Saturday. So I really want to do a live stream about a speaking test. And you have any questions or like doubts or things you haven't like so sure about a speaking test, you can totally drop a comment and let me check your comment while I teach you something about IELTS speaking. It's such, these days I've been living like in such a dream, you know, like, I had some tutor lessons with an ex-examiner about speaking, and I know more about all the expectation from the examiner. And once you understand all the marking criteria in IELTS speaking tests, you understand the expectations, the request or something, so that you can totally meet the demands or meet the expectations. You can improve your band score if you listen to my live stream today from the beginning to the end. Right now, so I don't know why I'm so nervous. It's maybe such a long time since I haven't been doing the live stream, so a little weird for me, of course. Let's talk about the weather, maybe. These days, it's just the beginning of autumn, and so the weather is so awesome and fantastic. We don't want to stay at home. We want to go outside, take part in some like outdoor activities. And recently, I've just run in the nearby, and I think it's such a great way for you to keep fit and stay healthy. Yeah. I know this new hair is like, I regret it the next day I go home because I don't know I don't know why I decided to cut my hair this short. Oh, first I think it should be this long. Where can I see all the comments? All right. So today I'm going to tell you all the things that I've learned from the next examiner for my speaking, and hopefully that you, after this live stream, you can do something to change your speaking band score. And recently, okay, so we're waiting for other people to show up in my live stream or other people to follow this live stream. Maybe I'll show you something that recently I've been up to. Maybe this one. Okay, so this is eCamp Live, and if anyone wants to do something special with their live stream, you can totally download the eCamp Live for free. I'm not advertising for eCamp Live. Hello, Chen. Right, where's that? I want to see the screen. How can I switch? Just 1 second, you guys. Oh, okay, I see. So you don't see my, you don't see my face anymore. Okay, let me show you one thing. Recently, I watched this on YouTube, Matthew Hussey. He's an awesome love coach. Anything you want to know about love. He's such an awesome guy. What I want to say is, 1 second. Where can I see my face? Okay, so you can see my face and my screen at the same time, right? My face is a little too big for you guys to watch. Right, so this is Matthew Hussey, the love coach I really admire, and I subscribed to his YouTube channel recently. He talks a lot about love and relationships and what you should do in a dating, or what should you do when after the breakups or something like that. So you can totally subscribe to his YouTube channel. Or if you interested in something you want to improve your speaking, why don't you subscribe to James Corden? Let me show you. I think I've shown this guy channel for thousands times. Alright, so there's a lot of interesting thing. Alright, so this video inspired me a lot to do a speaking sample. Sorry. We're not supposed to see the advert here. Okay, just 1 second. Just one more minute and show you this one. You totally have to watch this one. So basically, this is a video that Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible teaches James Corden, or he challenges James Corden to join his skydiving experience, and they are just blow your mind. It's really crazy to see it from the perspective. The moment they jump out of the airplane and the moment they are in the air. Look at that. Oh, my face, it hides everything. Yeah, so I don't know, I just want to show you guys this. It's just crazy, you guys. It's scary, but very inspiring. Anyway, so this, back to me here. So when I watched this movie, I watched this, I'm sorry, distracted by your comments. Just one. Okay, one second. I will go back to that. Where was I? So when I watched that movie, and when they're in the IELTS speaking forecast from September to December, that there's a questions like describe a sport that you really like, or describe a sport that you want to play in the future. So you can totally talk about skydiving. Skydiving is such like a once in a lifetime experience. It's so great, and I really want to try it one day. Like jump out on airplanes, something. What else can be excited as jumping out on an airplane? I don't know. Right, so back to your comments. Anyone have any questions? All right. Facton, hello Miss Dame, I have waited for your speaking live stream for such a long time. I know. I did this live stream just because of you, Chen. Because oh no, I promised her to do a live stream last month or something else, and now I didn't do it. I feel so guilty. I'm so sorry. Right now, you can see me right now. And when you are bombarded with the revisions, you should do, because your target such a high band score, so that's what you do. You know what? When I would do the preparation for my IELTS test, I just locked myself inside the house. I didn't do any contact or interaction with the outside world. This is I spend 12 hours per day preparing for the IELTS test in just 1 month. So you should do the same thing. Yeah, it could be stretched out at some time, but it's fine. Totally, your hard work pays off, so don't worry about it too much. Everyone does, right? No, okay. So not so many comments that I have to reply at the moment. So, okay, we will start our lesson today. Our lesson today is about speaking, and to learn more about how to say speaking marking criteria or something you really need to know about. Sorry, my phone just distracted me for a moment. Alright, so I'm going to give you tips and advices, because that's what you're really asking for. What you want. Where's my face? And this is the teacher. The awesome teacher. Right, teacher, today we're going to learn about ways that you can deal with speaking, part 1, 2, and 3. Everything in a live stream. I know there's so much, but I hope that you can take note of anything that you want. It's such a long time since I haven't talked to someone in English that much, so a little bit nervous. Right, so can you see the question? Okay, so we have a lot of types of questions over here, and this is speaking part 1. What are your tips for speaking part 1? Just comment. Can you give me some suggestion for IELTS speaking part 1? What do you usually do with the speaking test? Hello, Việt Anh. Again, I repeat my question. What are your tips or tactics for IELTS speaking part 1? What do you usually respond to IELTS speaking part 1? I'm sorry. In Vietnamese, if someone is following and you're not so sure what I'm speaking, trong phần part 1 thì các bạn thường có những tips gì, hoặc các bạn sẽ định trả lời câu hỏi như thế nào? Nói chung chung nhá, các bạn đừng trả lời với các câu hỏi rõ ràng ở đây. Câu hỏi nó có bị nhỏ quá không nhỉ? You see that? I don't know. I'm not so sure that whether you can see all the sentence that I'm texting over here. Maybe it's a little bit bigger. Yeah, doing exactly. That's what I want to say. Keep it short and simple. That's so great. Where did you learn? Where did you learn about that? What about other people? What are the tips and tactics for our speaking part one? You know, this is the first part of the speaking test. So what should you do? What you should respond to the examiner once you're asking a few questions on speaking part one? I just remember the time that I take, the first time that I took the IELTS test, and I was so nervous. Once the teacher asked me to want anything, I go rapping. I didn't know. I'm not aware of anything that their expectations. Maybe that's why I didn't achieve like an 8.5 or like a 9.0 in IELTS speaking test, and that's such like a pity. Anyone? Yeah. Come on. What are the tips for speaking part one? I'm waiting for your messages. Really look forward to your messages over here. Okay, so in that moment, let's say chị Khánh, sao để không bị run khi đối mặt với giám khảo? Right, so my tip is like treat him like you were in the coffee shop. You're talking to a friend. The examiner just a friend. And they are just listening to you very actively. You don't need to make friends with the examiner. They're not your friends. They just like pretend that they are your friend, but try to calm down inside. Take a deep breath before you enter the room. You can just say hi as a very polite way to greet them. And then if they ask any questions and that you're not so clear about what they're speaking, you totally ask them again. Like, excuse me, what do you mean, or something. If there's a word that you're not so familiar with or something that you find difficult to understand, you can totally ask them to paraphrase the question in speaking part one and part three, of course. So, like, just treat them like a friend. What do you say with a friend asking you that question? That's what the ex-examiner taught me. Like, yeah, so just consider them like there's a friend sitting there and they asking like, where are you from? What are you studying? What's your major at school or something like that? So you can totally like, listen, no problem at all. Part one is very easy one. Yeah. Okay, so I've seen that the two people command something that's so great. The first one is Duyên. You say that keep it short and simple. Exactly. That's what I really mean. That's what the ex-examiner has taught me. Like in part one, the examiner just waiting for your simple sentences, simple responses, just like a friend asking you where you're from, and you say, I'm from Hưng Yên, I'm from Hanoi, I'm from Hanoi, then yeah, that's it. You don't need to speak too much about like, my city is very famous, it's known for beautiful scenery with magnificent landscape or tourist attractions, and the thousands of tourists flock to my hometown every year. You don't need that. That is too much, and you're showing off right from the beginning, which make a very bad impressions on the examiner. So just keep it very short, 2 or 3 sentences for part 1. Remember this rule. You don't need to talk too much, unless that question is like you have so many ideas, and maybe you can summarize it in 2 ideas. That's fine, I think. So just 2 or 3 sentences for one question in part 1. All right. What else? Yeah, tag any friends of you who are preparing for IELTS speaking test and they're struggling with it every day. Just tag them in this post. I want them to see the tips and the tactics that I provide today, so that they have a clear understanding of what they should prepare, what they should do in the IELTS speaking test. Because a lot of you are like bombarded with something on the internet. A lot of people give you different advices and they are not so correct. So yeah. So tip number 1 for speaking part 1 is keep it short and simple. 2 or 3 sentences is fine. You don't need to exaggerate too much. And tip number 2 is very important. You shouldn't exaggerate too much. Okay, so like, how to say, you shouldn't use too much fancy word or advanced vocabulary or idioms in your speaking part 1, because that's not necessary. Just a simple question, like just assume that it's a very simple conversation between 2 friends. And two foreign friends would not use too much fancy words or advanced vocabulary once they ask each other very personal questions. You understand what I mean? Right. So here I prepare a list of speaking part 1. You can take a look over here. And right now, we will analyze a little bit about these questions, all right? What we need to do right now is... All right, can you see that? I'm so sorry if my face is much bigger than the... Right. First question. Do you spend a lot of time with teenagers? I want to see your sentences, your answers. How would you respond to this question? Anybody who's watching this video, please take a time. Just spend 1 hour with me and your speaking test will be improved. All right? I guarantee you this if you watch it from the beginning to the end. So don't go anywhere else. Just like stick to the screen right now and watch my video and watch my live stream and answer this question. Do you spend a lot of time with teenagers? Yeah, so I'm waiting for your responses. Come on, just 2 or 3 sentences is simple. Just keep it simple. We have a lot of questions, and today I'm going to show you how I respond to this question. I don't think that I can keep it like 2 or 3 sentences for this question alone. And you know what? These days, I don't know, I just keep smiling for no reasons at all. I don't know whether I'm... like, I feel this kind of energy, positive energy. Like, I feel so like positive and energetic all the time. I keep smiling all the time, just like a crazy person. I don't know. And you should too, if like it's so straight down. Okay, I'm sorry, I should keep like, shut up. All right, that's a very good answer from Pat Chen. Let's speak it out, all right? In the past, Hoàng Anh, you got such an excellent answer. Okay, back to you, Pat Chen. In the past, I used to spend, not spend, most time for playing with teenagers, but now I have to study far from my home, so my friends around me are over teenagers, so I seldom spend time with them. Okay, so you don't have a lot of friends right now? Okay, analyze in Vietnamese a little bit maybe so that you can get a clear understanding what I'm saying. Phát Chân thì bạn sẽ compare past and present, right? That's actually a good way for you to speak and I speak in part 1, but it's not really necessary for you to mention both, like present. What about the past? What about the present? Because the question is the present. Yeah, you can talk about the past, but if you think it's too complicated and it may like affect your fluency during the test, you can totally talk about just about the present. You can say like, no, I study in college, which is far away from my hometown, so I don't spend a lot of time with my friends. So I don't have a lot of time, So I don't have a lot of time spent with teenagers because most of the time I spend with my friends who are over adolescents, maybe. Yeah, I'm sorry if I speak too fast. I don't know, recently I just got this speed and need to slow it down. I know, I'm so sorry for that. And Hoàng Anh, you have something to say, like, definitely, I am a teenager, so I spend all my day for myself. Hoàng Anh, it's not really, I don't know, I spend all day for myself. It's not really I know that you are just playing games on me. I know you're not serious, right? I hope so. Right, so for me, if I say this question, the first thing I need to do is I need to answer how frequent I spend time with teenagers. You understand? And maybe you say, yes, definitely, or yes, quite often, or no, not so often, or not really often. Yeah. Something you need to answer the question first, and then you explain it later. You can totally use, okay, so one big fat tip for you over here is use personal example. because this part is about yourself and the conversation is very personal. You can totally talk about what are your situations. You shouldn't mention too much about like my friends. No, you should like think from your friend's perspective, I think. So this question, maybe I wouldn't approach it like quite often, I guess, because most of the time, because I'm a teacher, so most of my students are teenagers, so I think spending time with them in the class, we had such a great fun together, and that's it. Just like keep in mind that you should speak very fluently. You don't need too much big words or fancy words over here. Keep it very simple. Keep it straightforward. That's good. Okay. All right. So Hiệu, you have another question. Sorry, you have another answer. Gosh. Maybe I need to. Okay. Well, honestly, I'm a final year student, so you don't use the word sophomore or what is that? The fresh year. Okay. I'm a final year student, so just focus on my thesis, and I do not spend much time with teenagers. All right, I see. That's a very good answer. That's very simple and straightforward. Okay, next one. The next question is, you have to choose between A or B, right? So the question is, which instrument would you prefer to study, the piano or the violin? What do you say in this situation? What instrument would you prefer to study? Well, it really depends, right? You can choose whatever you like and explain on one side. But I will show you a trick that you can gain a better high score for this question. It's very necessary. What are the people watching my live stream? Have you typed the answer yet? Come on! What are you doing? Don't be so lazy. Don't procrastinate while I'm speaking. If you have your iPhone, like this one, or maybe the live stream is lag, slow, internet connection is slow, so that you can't understand my question. I don't know whether you know this, but if you're doing an iPhone, I don't know whether about other mobile phones. If you, I don't know, okay. I just recently know it, so I think it's great. Okay, for example, if I text somebody on this one, you see that? No. Can't see it. Okay, so there's a button over here, like it's the micro. Once you touch the mic, and you talk something on it, it will transform your voice into text. So that's a great one. In my free time, I don't know, I'm setting in Vietnamese maybe. Thanks God it didn't show up. Okay, for example, I don't know whether you know this. In my free time. What is that? Oh, I cannot show you. In my free... Oh, yeah. It show up over here. In my free time. Then transfer my voice into text. So if you have that on your mobile phone, just do it so that you can have a better types. I don't know this recently. And it's such a great invention. Alright, so Minh Phương Vội have another sentence for the last question, previous question. At my age, extremely hard for me to spend so much time with teenagers. Why? Why don't you explain a little bit? Just try to extend your answers like in one or two more sentences. That'd be better. You know, understand, Minh Phương? Võ Minh Phương. Please show me your hearts. Throw me the hearts. Very desperate. Which instrument would you prefer to study? The piano, the violin? Okay, so it took quite a long time to get you guys answers. So just type it and I will reach out to you later, okay? So my approach over here is that I will choose one and then I explain why. But you can use the word like that said or having said that so that you can talk about the other side or the other instrument over here. You understand? Like, I would say, well, for me, I prefer to play the piano because the sound of the piano is more romantic and it's more appealing, I guess. Having said that, playing the violin would be such a great experience, and if I had the chance, I really want to study the violin as well. Okay, so that's my sentence. That's my maybe a sample answer for this question. You talk about both sides. You choose one side. You say you understand. Like you choose one side. You explain why you prefer it, and you still talk about the other side, and you explain why. That's great. You can choose both sides. The question doesn't really determine whether you speak is true or false. It just tests your language ability. So whatever you say, just make it like, okay, maybe compare between two things, give you more marks for like vocabulary or grammar right from the beginning part one, speaking part one. Okay, you understand? As I don't see any comments, I will move on to the next question. Or am I too fast? I'm sorry. Because we have so much to learn in this live stream, so I don't want to slow down too much. You can take a look back, like you can play back my live stream later on, so don't worry if I like so fast instruction. Question number 3, have you changed your mind on your dream job? Dream job. What was my dream job when I was small? I'm really not sure what was my dream job when I was small. Like, what was that? A lot. When I was small, I used to dream like I would become a beggar, a beggar. Like I would be the free beggar going from here to there, and like I can be all over the place. I can experience new cultures. I could die of hunger, but I don't care. I just want to travel around the world, wander around the world, and see what people are doing in other countries. And that's my dream job. But of course, I would not say that in IELTS speaking. But that's really what from bottom of my heart. I really want to like be a beggar, a free beggar. I don't really care about clothes or material things, Alright, so a lot of people dropped 2 comments, but let's see what you said. I really want to study the violin more than piano because the melody from the violin arouses my feeling a lot. For me, it's more interesting and easier to learn than piano. Wow, so sweet. My heart melts. My heart for you. Okay. That's good. You show that you can compare between 2 things. And you say very simple words. The melody. But do you say melody from the violin? I say maybe the sound. Maybe the melody is like the songs turn into the melody, Okay. Trúc Nguyễn, I like to play the piano because in my opinion, I think. Alright, remember, in my opinion is equal to I think. So you don't say in my opinion I think anymore. You can say something like personally I think. Okay, for me, I think it's fine, but in my opinion, I cannot think. It has a perfect sound, and the violin is very hard to play with me. What? The violin is very hard to play with me? To play with. Yeah, you don't say me, okay? It's not to play with me. To play with. Now we move on to the next question. Have you ever changed your mind on your dream job? Right, so in 2 or 3 sentences, I don't know whether I can achieve this mission. Have you ever changed... I really want to sneeze, but I keep like holding it. Have you changed your mind on a dream job? Yes, I guess, because when we grow up, a lot of things has changed. I remember like when from a child, I was fond of becoming a pilot. Whenever I look up in the sky in the middle of the night, that'd be very interesting if I can become a pilot someday. But right now, I think I'm more realistic, and I want to have a career as a entrepreneur. And that's what I said. That's what I would say in a nice speaking test. Okay, more people are talking. You are interacting quite well, so I would say bé Vinamilk. Let's check your answer out. Yeah, definitely. For what? For the dream job. As a little girl, I wished to become an author and to write great books about life and relationship. However, I've changed my mind many times as I grow up, and I guess this is the norm for everyone. Wow, your answer is much better than mine. But you know what? It really depends, because what you are saying to me right now, it's just something that you're typing on the computer screen, on a keyboard or your smartphone. But remember that if you're in real test, and this, like if you try out to look for word like, I changed my mind, the norm for everyone, but in the real test, you couldn't it's just on the tip of your tongue, like something that you can't think clearly. It's somewhere inside your head, but you cannot speak it out. So remember that you can totally say the word, but I've decided to change many times as I grow up, and I guess this is very normal for everyone. Okay, the norm for everyone is great, but if you can't speak it out or just slip through the tongue, and then you can totally say something much simpler. Okay, you know what I mean. You can totally say this thing, but if you speak it with very fluently, very smoothly, that's alright. Okay. Đinh Tuyển, well, in my academic life, I changed my dream job. In my academic life? Because my score for university entrance was not enough. However, I tried to motivate myself and find the new opportunities. Okay. Because my score for university entrance was not enough. Was not enough what? Because I got low score for university entrance. Because my score for university entrance was not high enough, or not, maybe you say like I was not, how to say, my score. Because I didn't get the required score for my university entrance exam. Maybe. However, I've tried to motivate myself and find new job opportunities. Okay, that's good. That's good. When you say you can compare between the past and the present, that's so great. And Ngọc Huyền. Okay. Now I can receive Ngọc Huyền sentence answers for the question of piano and the violin. That's so weird. It means the internet connection is so poor out here. Alright. It depends on people's taste, but for me, learning to play the piano. For me, I liked learning to play the piano because I really like Yuruma. Am I right? I don't know how to pronounce her name. Who is a famous pianist, and I want to play well like him. Oh, it's him. I like to play the piano because I really like Yuruma, who is a very famous pianist, and I want to play well like him. That's such an excellent question, you know. And if you can speak it smoothly and clearly, you can totally kill it in a speaking test. That's so great. Such a great start. Please, people who are watching this live stream, please tag your friends in this live stream so that they know what we will expect in our speaking test. Alright, so we'll move on. I'm so sorry it takes so long for this question. Why is online shopping very popular? What kinds of music you like to do? Okay, maybe we'll pick the question number 6 because that's a very hard one. And maybe some would make a big mistake for question number 6. So the question for number 6 is, what kinds of jobs are popular in Vietnam? Okay, so while you are spending time thinking about the answer, thinking how to answer this question, I will go over Phạm Trần sentence and I will try to analyze it for her. What kinds? Okay, so I'm sorry. The question right now is what kinds of jobs are popular in Vietnam? Think about it. Give me 2 or 3 sentences. Back to you, Fatin. Actually, I have changed my mind on my dream job 2 years ago. Well, if you say 2 years ago, it must be in the past, simple past, not like present perfect, I think. Like, yeah, you know? When I was a sophomore, I felt I was suitable to be a teacher than being a banker. So still now, I try my best to fulfill my current dream job, being a teacher. Okay, Chen, so the problem is you are using fancy word in your speaking part 1. You understand what I mean? Like the first one, no, it's just the phrase, fulfill my current dream job of becoming a teacher. That's very fancy, and that's not natural conversation English would sound like. So, because I know when a mistake, because when I had the lesson with the ex-examiner about speaking, and I would try to insert as many like advanced vocabulary or fancy words as possible in a sentence, and he just crossed it out. You know, it's so weird because he said like, it's not necessary. You don't say to your friends like, I want me to fulfill my dream job. In the conversation, you don't. So in our speaking part 1, you need to be aware of the style that you are talking, because in part 1, it's all about personal conversation. I'm so sorry. Personal conversation, personal. Okay, mark my word, it's all about personal conversation, personal information. So you shouldn't keep it too hard. If you speak it too fancy, too complicated, then you will be like unnatural in speaking part 1. So you, Chen, back to you, you just say like, so till now, I'm trying my best to fulfill my dream. I'm still trying my best to fulfill my dream. I'm trying my best to become a teacher, maybe. That's it. Don't insert like fulfill my dream job, maybe. Because you know that there's a very big difference between, because you know, like if you achieve, yeah, okay, one thing. It really depends on your aims. If you just aim for like 6.5 now speaking, there's no problem at all. Because this mark, they just like, it doesn't guarantee that you will achieve like a band 7 or higher. But if you achieve for 6.5, then it's totally fine. Because with 6.5, they are not fully aware of the style that they're talking. But if you achieve for a band higher, like a band 7 or 7.5 or 7.5 higher, you should understand that there's a very difference between conversation and the part 3. Okay, so please remember that there's a difference between part 1, 2, and 3. Because part 3 is the more like about general English. You should use more complicated sentences or collocations or advanced vocabulary you have learned. But for part 1 and part 2, just keep it simple. Don't insert too many collocations over here. Yeah. Just make it simple. Because I don't know if you perform in the real test, maybe the problem is you cannot speak fluently because you are still thinking, since trying to figure out what collocation you're going to use. But actually, it just like affect badly to your fluency, because you are searching for the phrase like to fulfill my dream job, where you can totally say that just want to become a teacher. All right, so that's what I want to say to you, Fatin. Thanks. Trúc Nguyễn. Oh, this is a difficult question for me. Yeah, so you want to buy time a little bit, right? I'm not sure, but I think the banking financial is popular with Vietnamese because many people believe that it has a high salary to improve their life. Right. This is such a sentence that we need to take care of it. Okay, so people who are watching this live stream, please take a look at Trúc Nguyễn sentences, or maybe, alright, I see. I'm so sorry, Trúc Nguyễn, to bring your example over here. Wow, I love technology. I'm so sorry if... Right. Oh, no way. Right, so this is Trung Nguyễn sentence, and we're going to take a look at that. Is it too, like, unclear for you guys? Right, Trúc says, oh, this is a difficult question for me. That's great. When you stand there, you're trying to buy time a little bit because you want to think for a second what you're going to say. That's great. Next, I'm not sure, but I think the banking financial is popular with Vietnamese because many people believe it has a high salary to improve their life. You just made a very big mistake over here. Like I said, speaking part 1 is a personal information. It's all about you, the candidate, not all Vietnamese people, all people around the world. It's just about you personally. So you should not talk about other people. You talk about yourself. You talk like, what is your dream job? Have you changed your mind on your dream job? Like, what was your dream job when you were little? And what about it now? It's not about like, you talk about millions of people outside, all over the world. What are their like popular dream job? No, you don't say that. Remember? This test is about you, and you have to understand. You have to talk about yourself. What is your dream job? It's no. So this question shows that you are aiming for very advanced vocabulary for like banking, financial, high salary, improve their life. Not really advanced, but like you're trying to insert big words inside here, the sentence. But you actually didn't answer the question. Okay, it's about you. It's not about like Vietnamese people. No, we just left it for part 3. Remember this? Okay, I'm so sorry that to bring up your examples, but it's just a great lesson learned, right? Good lesson learned. All right, so I delete it if you're so shy. I'm sorry. Okay, I feel so energetic. I'm so sorry. All right, so back to my little tip a bit. Okay, so this is for my... Right, if you want tip for IELTS speaking part 1, I show you here 4 simple tips. First, don't say too much. Keep it very simple in part 1. I'm sorry, just I know, but if you really want to achieve a band higher, if you're a proficient in English, you want to aim for a band 8 or 9, it's fine. You can say long sentence because you speak at a very high speed than usual people. But if you just aim for 6.5 or 7.5, just remember this rule of thumb. First one, don't say too much. Keep it very simple in part 1. What do I mean by keep it simple? Like you shouldn't insert too many fancy words, big words, words that are too hard to understand, too much idioms in this speaking part 1. It just getting nowhere. All right, understand. And the next tip is very, very, all right, I'm sorry, this is part 2. The second tip is very simple. It's all about you for part 1 and part 2. So just give me personal examples. What is your perspective on this situation? What do you like? What do you want? What is a dream job? What did you learn? Or how do you feel? What is that? What is that? It's all about you. So give me personal example. And if you want to say something about personal examples, you can totally use the word or phrases like, for me, I think, and I believe that. To me, something. Or say, personally, I think. Yeah, it's all about you. You can totally use a phrase, for example, or for instance, in your speaking, in your sentence. It's fine. And number 3 is, if the question asks you, and you have so many ideas for that question. Okay, so back to the question over here. Sorry. Like question number 5, what kinds of music do you like to listen to? Right, so the question already says like what kinds, and so we can talk more than one kinds, right? So I could say like, well, it really depends on my mood at that situation. if I'm feeling blue, what kind of music I would listen to? And if I'm happy and positive, and I'm so energetic at the moment, oh, I hate the gym, or I want to have more energy, what kind of music would I listen to? You understand? It totally depends on you. If you think like, okay, so I have so many ideas for this question, and then I would separate it into different situations, use it depends. And if you use the if, you have more marks for your grammar. Okay, that's great tips, I think. And the next one, number 4. The question asks you between two things. You choose one, but you still talk about the opposite. Remember that? And if you talk about the opposite side, you can steal my phrase over here. Like, having said that, or that said, or on the other hand, or something like that. Okay, so maybe you choose the piano, but then later you still want to talk about the violin, so you can say, having said that, the violin is something something. I would love to play the violin if I had the chance, or that said, or something like that. So it will make like you are making a concession in your speaking, and that's great. That shows that the ability of you to compare between two things, and that's so great. Right, so that is something we have for speaking part 1. I think there's a lot of comment over here. It shows that you are very well educated. You teach yourself quite well. Đinh Tuyến. Good question is. Right. So Đinh Tuyến, you just made the same mistake like Trúc Nguyễn, right? I show you guys this. Sorry. Yes, this is a speaking part 1. Tuyến ơi, change your mind. Okay, come on. Where is that? No. Where is your sentences? I need to take it over here. This is Trúc, right? Where is Tuyến? Alright, so you are over here. Ooh, I love this. Econ Live is so useful. Can you see that? Is it big enough? It should be a little bit over here. On my face, it's too big that it just... Alright. My face a little bit smaller. I'm sorry. Bye-bye from me. Right. So here's her answer. There are numerous occupations in my country, such as... Oh, I'm sorry. This is, this is... I'm sorry. This is the question number 6, right? It's not question number... I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. So you guys are answering the question number 6, not about the dream job. Talk nonsense this time. Alright, so question number 6, I'm sorry to win. This is... Yeah, so you're right. You're totally right. I'm so sorry. I thought you were answering for the question number... What question is that? Question number 3. I'm so sorry. Your answer is fine. And LinkedIn, your answer is fine too. I'm so sorry. Gosh, I didn't see it. You guys typing so fast. Okay, let's move on. You got such a great answer. What? Okay, I'm so sorry. Forgive me. Okay, so back to question number part 2, sample questions. So I've seen that, I'm so sorry. I didn't see you guys answering this one. Yeah, I'm so sorry. My bad. Question part 2, alright. Describe a time when, okay, so Phạm Trân, you're the last one that will check your sentence, your question, your answer. My favorite kind of music is UK pop music. It not only unwinds me after a long working day, but also enriches my English vocabulary a lot. Well, when you talk about enrich, you don't say a lot. Improve a lot is fine, but enrich is not enrich a lot. And just remember that if you use in not only but also, you have to put the verb enriches, right? You have to put the right tenses over there. That's great. Or you can say like it unwinds listening to UK pop music after such a hard working day. Not only unwinds, not only relaxing, help me to relax. And at the same time, I can improve my English vocabulary. Why not? You can use at the same time. Well, I listen to the phrase at the same time a lot of time these days, so I really want to use that phrase at the same time instead of not only but also, because sometimes you have to control the verb tense. Right, so in part 2, this is the question that I collected from Phạm Trân, and she says there's a few questionnaires speaking part 2 that she doesn't have any idea for that because it's so complicated. The question is so complicated, and she's like ideas or stuck in the ideas process. So in here, Trân, can you type it again? All the topics that you find so hard to have ideas. Oh, I feel so sorry. I'm so sorry again. I talk for hours about your mistake when it's not yours. I'm so sorry. This question, describe a time when you taught someone to do something new. Well, it really depends on you and what you... Okay, so in speaking part 2, if you run into a question that is not so familiar with you, you haven't prepared it at home before, just think about what you've learned so far, what you've prepared before, and try to connect, find the linkings between what you prepare with that question. That's my number 1 tip. Because even for myself, if I have to speak with a new topics, I have to tell a new range of vocabulary and tell a new story to invent that story for the examiner. But that would be it's so difficult, you know. And if you want to achieve a 6.5 or higher, it will affect a lot about your fluency. So think about what you've prepared before. Think about the situation. I don't know, maybe for this question, if I taught someone to do something new. Okay, so back to the video that I showed you in the first, at the beginning of the live stream, when I show you that, who's him? Mission Impossible. Tom Cruise and James Corden jumping out of an airplane. So you can imagine, if you prepare a sample essay about skydiving, you can talk about that. You can talk you taught your friend to skydiving for the first time. It's weird, but it works because I know how to connect what I prepared to what the examiner is asking me, because there's no time, just 1 minute. You can't make something so interesting, so awesome at the moment. Yeah, so you need to link about what you've learned. That's better. And the tip over here is that the question is, a lot of people ask me, do they have to follow the bullet points? I've asked this with the ex-examiner and I'm speaking, and he's a speaking examiner. So he just confirmed to me that you do not need to follow the 4 questions in the bullet points. You don't need to follow it. So you can totally make up a new story, something that just related to the main topic. You can talk everything. You can talk about describe a time you taught someone to do something new. Just talk about it. You don't need to follow when this happened, what did you teach them, how long did you teach them, explain how you felt about that experience. You don't need to follow that bullet points. You can just talk about a time when you taught someone to do something new. You understand, Phạm Trân? So what you prepared, or if you haven't prepared sample about skydiving, maybe just think about something very simple, like maybe someone taught you how to play, you taught somebody to play a sport for the first time. Maybe that's a kid, maybe that's your mother. You taught her to use the computer, to use the mobile phone, to use Facebook, right? So you can totally talk about technology, talk about something like that. Taught someone to do something new. That's what came up to my mind when I first look at this question. Well, it really depends on you because I don't know what you've prepared. So yeah, so that's my suggestions. All right. Other questions that you want to ask. How can I show people that you are doing this one? Right. Let's see. Okay. Where is the... Okay, the screenshot somewhere. And I still see that. Okay, so this is the question that you sent me, and you want to listen to my suggestion. What is so big? I don't know how to do it smaller. No, can't do anything with it. Maybe, I don't... I don't know where to hide my face. Okay, so just pay attention to the first one. A situation you have to be polite. A situation has to be polite when you don't have any politeness manners. A situation where it has to be polite, just think about like maybe you with strangers, so you need to break the ice, you need to be the one who reach out to them first, you initiate the conversation, you ask them several questions. Imagine that person is from a foreign country or foreign cultures, and they talk to you, they ask you several questions about Vietnamese tourism and show them. And that's how you be polite with other people. Or another example is you can talk about like the time when you had a trip by public transportation, you saw a pregnant woman and you give your seat to her, and you guys can talk a little bit. You guys can have a small talk on the bus maybe, and she thank you, and that's how you show to be polite manners. Well, another action, I'm not really sure because this question is, I don't have so many like ideas for this question myself. A situation has to be polite. Yeah, that's what I think. Think about the foreign tourist. That's a very good one to talk about. What else? An interview. Oh yeah, that's great. Right. So if you haven't had or prepared any topic vocabulary for this situation, you can need to search on Google or search on YouTube, or the videos or people how we talk, like how you should react to be polite. The polite thing here also, like Tuyến mentioned, it could be an interview. You have an appointment or a formal interview with the recruiters at some time, and you're trying to be punctual. You arrive like 15 minutes earlier to show that you respect other people's time, and you show that you really appreciate the chances of working at this company. And during the interview, you try to show your politeness and show respect to the recruiters. So you can search on Google like tips how to be polite during the interview, or how to caught the recruiter's attention. And that's it. You can totally have a killing speech about that. Yeah, talk about time management. All right. Talk about being polite. Just say I'm not such a polite person, so there's not many occasions that I can show my politeness. So I don't know how to answer the question. I'm so sorry. Next one, question number 3. Impressive story you heard from other people. Impressive story you heard from other people. Okay, so if for me, alright, so if I got this question, I would say about my skydiving experience again. Again, you can heard it from like, I have a brother who just from, okay, I'm sorry. I just got a brother who just returned back to Vietnam after like 1 year studying abroad, and he just talked about his skydiving experience in Europe or in Cambodia, and then there's such a stunning story that I've heard. Because I prepared the like something about skydiving. I have a vocabulary for skydiving, so I can talk about that story. Or it really depends on you. If you prepare something about like, or you can tell you about the topic of traveling. Someone just went to a new places and they talk about the experiences when they were at a foreign country. So just talk about that trip. Talk about like the trip to Europe or your trip to Europe. So search on Google, on YouTube, like a trip to Europe, and they went like, you can find some vloggers, traveling vloggers, when they travel and they make vlogs, and they can show you a lot of things or phrases when they talk about traveling, and so you have a more natural speed or intonation, and yeah, so you can talk about that traveling experiences from other people. Okay, some useful skills you learned in a math class from Brandview High School. Well, we'll talk about math class. You think about something very complicated, like you need to learn about geometry or algebra. What is that? I don't know that so in English. I know the word, but I don't know. I don't remember clearly. So maybe you can talk about geometry. What is that word? Just 1 second to check it again. I need to be sure so that I can do it. Geometry, right? Is that? Alright, just 1 second. Alright, yeah, geometry. So geometry it is. Where's the, I'm sorry, where is your photo? Okay, here. Right. You learn from geometry, and when we talk about geometry, we talk about like the shapes of objects. I talk about space. So you can search YouTube or Google something related to geometry, some practical applications of geometry in our real life. Like we can see geometry a lot in our architecture, in house design, house building, yeah, something like that. So you learn more about spatial thinking, creative thinking, and maybe the teacher in that lesson, they also taught you about some valuable lessons in life that you can learn from math. Think about it. Maybe like Duyên said, logical skills. You have to solve the problem step by step so that you can find the final answer. If you just have a mistake doing somewhere when you solve the math equations or geometry exercise, it will lead you to nowhere. You could be like, where's that word? What is like 100 miles? Yeah, okay. So just talk about critical thinking, and that teaches a lot about logical skill. Oh, Duyên, you changed. Your English is so advanced at the moment. I'm so admire you. Like, it's so great to see that you changed. Positive changes. Alright, so that's something you can say. And the last question is historic era that you are interested in. Historic era. Wow, it really depends on what you're interested in. For me, okay, I remember I prepared this question. Maybe I just had an idea for this question for like a long time ago, when this is the question from August, and in September it still remains here. Historic era, you can say about, it really depends on you, but here's my suggestion. You can talk about the time when Steve Jobs launched the first mobile phone, the first iPhone. Why? Because you can talk about the mobile industry, how Steve Jobs changed the game and set new rules for new mobile phone industry. It's such a revolutionary, it's such a breakthrough in science. So you can have more words to say about that historical era. Because I think when they first launched the iPhone, it's also a historic era. Or if you're not interested in those technology thing, you can talk about, like, think about Vietnamese history, if you like it. Yeah, or think about, like, World War One or Two, the First or Second World War. I don't know. But if you want to talk, like, I've heard some of my students, they prepare this question as, like, a time when, they talk about the time when, I just don't remember, but it's like Lý Thái Tổ, right? Lý Thái Tổ. So he moved the old capital city from Ninh Bình to Thăng Long, and that's such a milestone, such an important milestone for Vietnamese people when they changed the capital city. You can search information on that trip and how much and why he relocated the old capital city from Ninh Bình to Hanoi or Thăng Long. You can explain a little bit about that background information, and that's great. Yeah, error. Mobile phones also an error, I guess. Well, you know what? You just don't need to, like, yeah. So, Chen, you're scared of historic topics? I know. Thời đại, triều đại lịch sử. One moment. Is that? Is that? Or just... Oh, okay. It's about an error. Such a historical event. Okay, so if you talk about historic error, error, not event, you have to change it, right? This one, error, there are two ways of pronouncing it. Wow, I'm so hungry. Okay, so if you talk about historic error, I think Lý Thái Tổ moving the capital city from Ninh Bình to Hanoi, and you talk a little bit about the Lý dynasty, that is more appropriate. But if the question is historic event, you can talk about the first time that Steve Jobs launched mobile phones. Maybe. Alright, so that's something about the question part 2. You really need to... okay, so you can give example, maybe in part 2, but not really. Most of the time, I will tell my students to talk more about how you feel. How you felt about that. What do you think about that historical error, maybe? So when you talk about your feelings, you can have more personal thoughts, and that's what you want to say, because you don't care about the vocabulary related to topics, dynasty, or something. You just mention about it in a brief. You just like summarize the historic era, and you talk more about your feelings. How you think that historical era has changed the history of Vietnam, maybe. So that's your opinion. That's your own perspective. You don't really care too much, or don't worry too much about like you need to like be a historian, an expert on history to talk about that event. You know, you understand what I mean? Right? Okay, so there are so many questions over here. Maybe because it's like almost more than 1 hour and it's too long. I know you guys are also exhausted. Why can go on for hours for this speaking question. But anyway, get back a little bit. So now let's talk about speaking part 3 as the ending for today's live stream. For example, you can see these are part 3 questions. For example, why are some activities more popular than others? How do the types of leisure activities popular now? What? How do the types of leisure activities popular now differ from those popular when your parents were young? Or the last question is, what types of leisure activities may become more popular in the future? So, okay, so when you look at these questions, they are more general. They are about general topics. So just remember that in part 3, you don't use personal example anymore. You use more general examples. Okay, so you don't talk about, like, for me or from my perspective or from my own experience, you talk about the general examples. You can talk about like Vietnamese people, parents, teachers, schools, students, or people around the world or something, or the young, the old, the seniors. That a general example. Okay, my school, your school, or my hometown, or Vietnam, or something. That is all about general examples. So take care. So just remember that if it's part 1, part 2, talk about your personal perspective, but part 3, use more general ideas and more general examples, because you need to be aware of the differences when the question do not ask for your I'm so hungry. My stomach is just like, ooh. How does that sound? Right, so my tip here is you need to give general examples. And in part 3, it's very important. The top priority thing is you need to understand the question. If you don't understand the question and you just go on and on, blah, 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 about something that is totally off topic, you got no mark. You will be penalized for that. Because the examiner, they don't talk, some examiners are very nice. They get you back on track. Like they ask you the question again, so to remind you that you are off topic. But like other examiners, they are not so nice. They just ask the questions, and if you lost, you are not on the track, you totally talk about like something that's not related to the question, then they just ignore it. And then that's your fault, because that's not the job to stand there and to like bring you back on every time you lost. So if you're not sure what the question is, because sometimes their pronunciation is very different, this is very harsh to listen to. They speak in the native speaker, the native speed. They speak quite fast or speak too low. You can totally ask them to repeat the question. Make sure you understand the question. And if you don't understand any words in the question, you can ask them like, I'm sorry, excuse me, can you paraphrase the question? Because it's not necessary that they're not testing your listening skill in that speaking test. You can ask them again to clarify the question. And if you're not so sure what they're talking about, they will, and if the examiner sees that you don't understand the question, they will try to paraphrase it in a very clear or simpler way. So don't worry about it. Ask the examiner again if you're not so sure. And the next one, you need to extend your answers. It's, well, my ex-examiner says like, usually it would take about like 45 seconds, but it really depends on the examiner. It's a question. If you can answer very good in this question, they will let you more time to talk about it. Maybe 45 or like 1 minute. Or with another question, they see you hesitated, they let you some time to think about it, but you haven't come up with any ideas or talk more about it, so they will stop you and ask you another question. So here's my tip for you. Maybe you can use this one as a common structure for every speaking part 3. So when you have the structure, you can follow it and you know how to deal with the question. Thirsty, hungry at the same time. First one, you explain why. If the question asks you something, you answer it and then you explain why. And then, if you want to give more marks for coherence or fluency. What? What are you talking about? What question are you asking? Are you answering? The second one is try to give general example for the question. It could be a general example. It could be, you could say something like, for example, study has shown that, for example, Vietnamese often have a tendency to do something, or traditionally Vietnamese often do something, or we have the preference for something, and that's it. That's the general examples. Yeah. And number 3, if you achieve for a higher band score, you can give concessions. What is concession? Concession is like you talk about one side and now you talk about the other side. Okay, so you balance your ideas. You talk about your own perspective, but you still care about what other people say. Right? So you show that you can talk about the opposite side of the argument. It's quite late now. I don't know whether someone still watched it. You can watch my live stream later, right? Okay, so I have 3 or 4 things for you to teach, but I think we run out of time and it's late at the moment. For example, let's take this question as an example. This one. Now, think about this question for a minute. What kinds of leisure activities may become more popular in the future? Yeah. So just, well, you know what? If the question like this happens, and if you ask this one, just anything that pops up into your head. You could talk about reading, playing football, shopping. I always think about reading, because reading is power. Knowledge is power. Reading, leisure activities, going to the park, do exercise, hitting the gym, playing video games, going for a walk, hiking, skydiving. Anything that pops up into your head. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter what you're saying. It just matter what matters is how you show your sentence. Yeah. Okay, so let's say about Tuyến. In my opinion, but this question for what? Okay, I see. In my opinion, the main reason is some entertainment companies launch the successful campaigns for the activities. As a result, they will reach more people. By contrast, other activities can be high risk, such as extreme sport. But what question is that? And Captain, I suppose some activities are more common than others because they are easier to play and assess. They don't cost plenty of money. For example, in Vietnam, teenagers tend to go to the movie theater or take on a picnic. They are popular with them more than the others. Chen, where's your target? You speak like you use advanced vocabulary for part 1 and use very simple sentences for part 3. So simple. Cost plenty of money, but it's right. It's kind of very fine because you give example here, but it's kind of very vague in the first sentence. Well, for me, I would say, how would I respond to this question? What kinds of leisure activities may become more popular in the future? I'm so hungry. Like my mind went blank for a second. Wow, Tuyến, you have come to the next level. You're awesome. For this question, I can't. Okay, let's see your sentence. Well, I think extreme sport will be dominant. Dominate a verb in the future for young people because it helps them to push the limits and be free. Therefore, I bring more positive feeling. It bring more positive feelings than others. What? Not back? Cool. It's kind of cool. Just give me example over here. What kind of extreme sport are you mentioning? That's better. For example, Skydiving is one of the most popular extreme sport that have attracted a lot of attention from teenagers in recent years. Okay, so okay, back to the question. Maybe I would say this one and we end our live stream at the moment because it's late. I'm sorry. But I guess I'm sorry for my belly. It goes. Well, I guess there will be many. I guess there are many popular activities that will gain in ground in the future. The most dominant activity for leisure time would be, I guess, skydiving, because skydiving can help you to, like, maybe it's helped you to get out of your comfort zone for a moment and push your own limits, like you said. And that'll be like a lifetime experiences when you jump out an airplane. Having said that, a lot of people would say reading will become a more popular of a leisure activity, because reading, the more you read, the more successful you will be in both your personal and social life. So for many people, reading would be something that they were interested in doing in the future. Yeah, I know that it's not such like a good example of an 8 or 9, but at least I follow the structure. I'm so sorry because I'm so hungry. Anyway, so just remember to explain why. You give general examples. Maybe you give an example like skydiving is very famous or is quite common among teenagers, right, adolescents. But after that, I give in concessions. I say, like, having said that, a lot of people would say reading, ouch, as the number one activity in the future. And then explain why, because the more they read, the more you read, the more successful in both personal life and social life you will be. And that's something like that. So just follow this structure. It'll give you more idea to say. Just try to push yourself to say that general examples. You can come up with something. It doesn't matter if it's interesting or not. Yeah, it just matters that you show the examiner that you can talk about the distance. Okay, so today's all my tips. Maybe 5 more minutes. Wow, it's such a long live stream. It's going to be like 1 and 30 minutes. Anyway, so maybe I would say it again one more time. Not one more time, but like I would show you some other interesting things than just the very difficult things ahead. So I've talked with the ex-examiner, and he talked like when you speak, you should try to use more functional language. Maybe these functional languages or connectives will give you more ideas to talk, and it shows that you can compare things, you can talk about the other side, you can talk about the results, example or something. You talk about more ideas, the next idea, what is that? So these are few connectives that you can use. The first one, you can talk about like, however. Okay, so we'll talk about the other side, however. And pay attention to the word furthermore. Furthermore is very formal. You know, you don't say furthermore in speaking. Maybe, I'm not so sure that 100% like whether they should use furthermore or not, but you shouldn't use furthermore in speaking, it's quite formal. Although, okay, although, so remember when you use although, you shouldn't use but, because you tend to translate the tuy and nhưng in Vietnamese into English. Nevertheless, despite, and if you want to use like a clause, you can say like despite the fact that, or despite the fact that in a clause, or you want to use like despite noun form. And so if in case you have more than one idea, or an idea, and you want to talk like first of all, second of all, but you don't have to mention or repeat these like every time you talk about it. You don't say like first of all, second of all. You can say first of all, and then next, and then. And is a very powerful word. I've watched so many like interview with celebrities, and they just use the word and all the time. But it shows you shouldn't use and too much, because this is anyway still an IELTS speaking test, so you shouldn't abuse it. Or you can say, or you can use the phrase like on the one hand, on the other hand, when you compare between two things. Maybe like the old, the young, like children and their parents and something like that, like maybe the cities and rural areas, anything like that. And we talk about the result. You can use consequently, as a result, as a consequence. I guess maybe you can use these phrases in speaking part 3 instead of part 1, right? So you talk about the result of something, of any topic. What else? Don't use fancy discourse markers, because sometimes there are some discourse markers that can be used in writing, but not in speaking. So be aware of that. Be aware of the style that you have to use. Writing is more formal than speaking, obviously. So you shouldn't use furthermore, but nonetheless. Okay, so just 2 more minutes. Stay with me. Give opinions about something. You can say like, for me, I think, or personally, I think. To me, I believe that. Then you talk about your opinion. Just really be careful when you say like, in my opinion, I think, because they are the same phrase and you are repeating yourself. Or when you give examples, that's great. When you give example to something, instead of saying, for example, for instance, all the time, you can use the phrase, let's say. I've interest in many musical instruments. Let's say, my most favorite instrument is the piano. That's it. Let's say. Or let's say it's like you're trying to think about it and you want to give an example of what you want to say. Or let's say, or that is to say. Yeah, you explain in details what you're speaking in previously. And when you give examples at the end of the sentence, you can say like something like etc. But instead of saying etc., you can say something like to name a few. Maybe it's I'm into musical instrument, the piano, the violin, to name a few. Or the piano, the violin, you name it. It means so on. Contrasting views. You can say like, despite the fact that, and I really love this phrase, that said, or having said that. It means like, when you talk about something, you still consider about the other side of it. Yeah, so it shows that you have a balanced ideas. And when the examiner asking you about questions like yes, no questions, you want to, and they're asking your ability to evaluate their opinions, you can say something like, if you agree with them, you can say that I could agree more. Totally, definitely, absolutely. Instead of saying yes, I do all the time, it's boring. And in real life, in fact, they don't speak like yes, I do, no, I don't. Every time someone asks them the yes, no question, because that is like just a child talking to its parents. So try to use these phrases to make your speech more natural, okay? Oh, this is so much. Okay, the last thing is talking about hypothetical situations. And the ex-examiner says, like, if you can use the third conditional sentence in your speaking, and it will actually awe the examiner. Like when they say in such awe, like, wow, that is a very difficult sentence structure, and they can use it without much effort. And if you really target for a band 8 or higher, and I really recommend, my tongue is just rolling. And if really, I highly recommend that you can practice speaking conditional sentences in when you practice at home. Alright, so that's the end of my speaking or my live stream today. Thanks so much for your attention. I know it's late. I'm sorry for keeping you guys still awake at this time. I really want to talk more about it, so I can go on and on for hours for this speaking test. Just one last thing is that try to practice or listen to a lot of native speakers on YouTube. You need to listen to them and listen to motivational speakers on YouTube so that you have more motivation, more energy in your speaking. And that's why I changed my like intonation recently. I just don't know why I got this kind of energy all the day. So yeah, this is Jane from my esteemed fan. Thanks so much for watching my live stream. Goodbye. And now I'm exhausted. I need to go to sleep and take a bath. Bye-bye. Where's the ending button? How can I end this live stream? Thank you so much for your... Okay. Okay, goodbye. Thank you so much. Love ya. I'm searching for the ending button. Goodbye. No. Where's the ending button? I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is finished. Goodbye, for real.